สวัสดีครับดรเฟรดริก It's glad to be able to have a chance to improvise with you. Last year, I went to Sweden, Stockholm, and I was very impressed with your work, especially in the Global Summit. And from that point, like 3 or 4 months, do you see any trends or any global change perspective on ESG and what they using IDG as their supercharge to make the engine work? Do you see any transformation recently in the global perspective?
Thank you, Kris, and an honor to have you in Stockholm. Thank you for coming. I'm so impressed what I've been seeing so far in what happens in Thailand, and I think it's quite remarkable to see the situation we're in, right? We are in, I mean, globally, of course, many things has happened since we met also in November. Some things are making the situation really tough around the world at the moment. We shouldn't forget that. We have all the challenges around access to energy and oil and all of those things. We have different really tricky geopolitical struggles. So there are many things that affects us, right? But at the same time, we are at a situation where we are not performing what we have agreed on globally. Maybe 18% of the sustainable development goals that we have agreed to happen in just 4 years to come now are on track. There are very important positive trends also. So this is it's tough in many ways, but there are more and more companies, and we start to see that across the globe, that maybe in some ways the leadership, the active leadership of people taking responsibility for the businesses that they lead, the academic institutions they lead, has been put to test. It's never been so clear that the way that we work and how we come together with all the ways we are, with our being, our inner focus, as well as how we collaborate and how we deliver on critical outcomes. It's even more important than ever because it's so much things happening around. Knowing where you want to go, how to get there, and committing resource and energy to continue to work despite what happens around us is absolutely crucial, because we cannot afford not to deliver on sustainable development. That's going to be impossible. No one would want to invest in someone who is not taking the long-term view and the long-term visioning of how to deliver meaningful business performance in the E, S, and G space. But it is under pressure. So we have to more and more take our own focus and leadership to make these things become a reality. We can't really expect others to do it. We have to own that responsibility and honor that responsibility for our kids, for our grandchildren, for everyone around us, to deliver the best possible economic, social, and governance ways to be well-functioning individual business and the business sector jointly in Thailand, around the world. And the more we can work together to learn how to do it, the more we can focus inside to get outer effects, the better. Here, Thailand has a unique opportunity. The beauty of your country, the amazing connection, and your culture, not least the connection to the sufficiency economy, is providing you a remarkable speed ahead of many others. So I'm honored to be working with Thai colleagues, and that's really the space where we can explore. And you have a really strong starting point if you're daring to take this responsibility.
I see. And when we have a chance to discuss on we have a synonym on the 3C, on the commitment from the top, on the connectedness of the leader to all the employee, and also how to build like an inner development as the competitive advantage, especially when we work with a company like Thai Smile Bus in Thailand. Like the CEO have a committed full heart with the IDG, and she want all the people like more than 5,000 of her team to really have a IDG heart, connect with the heart, and also she see that that will be the strategic advantage to compete in the future. Do you see that is the common in over the world now, or?
I think this is an amazing, pioneering, grounded, well thought through, well planned, and now starting to be executed strategy from a company that we can all look up to. But there are many others who are also trying to get this to happen around the world. I really like the model that you're the 3 C's, because they are easy to remember, right? We need clarity that this is a real strong competitive advantage, and therefore at the core of the interest of the C-suite. But it can't only be the C-suite. It has to be guided from there. It has to be owned and shown culturally that this is what we want to go for. But as well, the passenger at the bus, the school kid that takes the bus, will not usually meet the CEO, right? They will meet someone else. And who is that? That's the bus driver.
Yeah.
So unless this connection in the organization of the values that's owned by the C-suite will also be something that really guides us on how do we behave to achieve what we can with the roles we're having also in those core delivery functions as the bus driver. You know, look at it. For a bus driver, it can make a significant difference, right? So if a school child and a group comes into the bus, and maybe the child is a bit unfocused, or haven't slept well, or had a frustrated fight, seeing a smile from the bus driver that day can actually make a radical shift for that person's. And maybe that was the day that they're going to have the first encounter with an employer if they're in high school. So you can really see the link that showing that beautiful expression of social connectedness, happiness, and so on, can actually have real direct effects on people's lives, right? And then what we also know is that you have to get through quite a few tricky situations to make sure that if you're a bus driver, your effects on the environment is the least harmful and the most positive as you can, right? So you have to be careful how you're using your vehicle so it doesn't overconsume, but actually adds, as happening here, right? The more people join in the bus will actually contribute to carbon because of both things, right? People will not go other ways. They will not go sit in traffic jams. They will go by the bus, which is much more relaxing for people. And at the same time, they will save on carbon emissions and actually contribute to other ways of supporting decarbonization, right? So you have the economic is quite clear to me here. Given the macro situation around access to oil and so on in other parts, that there is a dependency in the delivery systems, right? And the geopolitics is driving the need to think a couple of times, how do you make sure that you're not become dependent on raw materials that is somewhere else in the world, which doesn't help Thailand's development. So the more you can do with available resources in the local space and smart approaches to deal with that, the more environmentally friendly their transport system is. And the same reasoning can be happening across many different industries, right? And they are everywhere around. But I think joining people together, understand that this is not just outer challenges, it's inner development that we all can do individually to focus our attention. We are drawn by so many different stressors now, right? So we have to be even more on the inner development side to continue to commit, to connect, and to get that competitive advantage that you have to work collectively and collaboratively with others often to achieve. And that requires us to work on the being, the thinking, the relating, the collaborating, and the acting that we cover in the IDGs. So they are very, very, very low cost or no cost, actually, in use. They will be supercharging your delivery and your outcomes, and you will feel a whole lot better as the leader for the organization because you've been reconnecting to yourself, to others, to the place where you're active, and to the country and to the planet, right? And that's actually grounding your own continuation to work together with your team and your C-suite on delivering these outcomes, despite that it might sometimes feel very extensive barriers around. But keeping this front and center in what you can do every day together around your organization will lead to that competitive advantage, valuing the people in your organization and the customers around you and the investors and others who would believe in you. So this is quite a magical thing if you get your attention to it and work systematically in making it become your asset in your organization.
I see. And from your perspective, if we try, when you mention about the collaboration, and if we want to forming the networking, the society that using the concept that we use in Thai Smile Bus and try to co-creation, learning, and be able to improvise the best practice from each industry to be able to create when you mention Thai smile, right? It also as a behavior of Thai in Thailand. We are the land of smile. And if we try to create the new inner development on inner happiness, inner smile, and the people see each other what is their best practice, and when they sharing, I think it will be interesting for to create like a global living lab in Western also.
Very, very clearly. So I can just honor that. I think this is also a bit of what we know about when does transformative change happen. Well, it is something that has to be done at all levels, individually, team, organizationally, but also together. And that could be together in some different ways, right? We can do it as a country. So Thailand could absolutely, and there's many points of doing it as a country because you will also be strong enough to find your way to do it with loads of humility, but also pride in what is happening in Thailand. You can, by having those connections, you can both learn about the ongoing work because no one is fully learned about this. It's a constantly developing long-term process, as we know. You can also be very grounded in your own culture. And you have a beautiful, beautiful culture with so many strong perspectives on these issues that we and the rest of the world have been very fortunate to learn about. So you can do even more to show us what great stuff you're doing. And then, of course, you can work together strategically as well. Well, there might be so that when you start to look at this from a systems perspective, you would see that, okay, so some will deliver transport, or Thai Smile, for example. Others may be part of the industries around sustainable tourism, right? And then they have to get there. So there's immediately a connection between who is driving people to those experiences. Well, maybe that's, and then the bus company, of course, wants to connect people and places. They want to bring people between different places and goods and what have you, right? So we can start when we start to look at each other and see each other as adding value to what we do. We can really build this beautiful quilt, or if you want, this kind of a I'm looking at the picture behind you, like this beautiful organic development of how different parts of the system is seeing how they can make each other flourish as companies, because they offer different things and they collaborate in different ways. So we are all for maximizing value between the different organizations. And that will happen both by learning how others are working, but also looking at how can we make a fuller customer experience by putting the customer front and center. So they have to travel somewhere, they have to have some experience, they might be able. So we start to look at how the strategic alliances can form in new ways by being, and then the one thing you need to form ecosystem of relationships to deliver value together is your inner leadership, because you want to know, what can I sign up for? What do I feel confident with? What can I trust? And what's less so? So if you start to work on the inner and the leadership development of the inner, then people would know and be much more authentic and honest in, we can work together on this because we do see the value, but we can also say, okay, so make it work. I need this to happen, and you need to do this, and we can really work on the collaborative synergy that we can develop, and that's the real competitive advantage for an ecosystem of organizations working together. There's also this beautiful expectation that happens. So if a colleague of mine that I trust and I really feel strongly for has found a way to do something that I've been trying to do for some time, I'd be really interested to learn about it. So if a CEO is finding a way of bringing the inner development as part of the ESG conversations, for example, in their C-suite board or in the conversation with the board, I would certainly listen carefully about, because I may want to do something like that as well. I may not copy fully what they're doing, but I can learn and I can think, okay, they're doing, how could I, maybe parts of what they're doing works for us as well. Because we, of course, we have to realize that the organizations culturally and what they're serving, which kind of customer they're serving and so on, is different. But that doesn't mean that we can't learn about how we build our organization from our inner development as individuals, teams, and organizations. In fact, I've been working a lot in 10, 12, 15 countries now around the world where we build exactly these kinds of relationships. It is encouraging leaders to sit next to another leader in different sectors to share those things. What motivates me? What am I doing? How can I do it? And we can help. And we can offer by many in those kind of safe, trusted environments. They'll find friends that they can bounce and think through for a very long time. And it's very good to have just a email away or a phone call away or sitting at the coffee or lunch away to know each other a bit, so that you then understand when I'm saying, well, I tried this way of working with my C-suite. It worked. It was tough in the beginning, but actually through a few 3 months into the process, I really felt that we developed. And then someone else tries and gets inspired, and then you can coach each other and say, okay, so what kind of problem did you encounter? Well, it was really tricky with a financial officer. Okay, but how did you come? Yeah, I spoke to them and say, okay, yes, we can show this financial performance, but actually to make the sustained financial performance, we need the inner development supercharging, because otherwise we can't continue. We can do it for a quarter, but not for the longer run. So we got to a good sort of understanding of the needs of the financial officer and the need for the CEO for the whole organization. And then therefore, so we can learn from each other from bits and pieces around how is this happening what do you do, what works, and what works for you. And that needs trusted relationships where people are testing different things. And they can also, of course, come together and say, well, let's now try to compare this, like measure these things together in the three of us and see who's doing what and how. So use that relationship, the capacities that we're trying to develop together in and around the University of Happiness as the sort of a core academy space, so that you get the most possible outcomes and benefits for your organization by collaborating with others and achieving this competitive advantage.
I see. That's great. You paint us to see the new ecosystem that the good heart company work together. And my final question is that if we want to create the transformation journey, especially on the inner development, is it possible that you can work hand in hand with our collective uh, collaboration, and we can share what we learn, especially when you are the head of co-creation worldwide for the IDG. If we have something, when you mention about not East and West, but like a universal wisdom, we can share what we learned from Thailand, from Ajarn to other part of the world. Is it be able that you can weaving that learning and be able to create something new for sustainability society?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there are already a few of these kinds of processes going on. So the way we can interconnect and share between them is going to be something we are developing together, sure. And I think, making it super blunt statement, but I'm residing in Europe, in Sweden, in the cold north, and that means that many people travel quite frequently to Thailand, right? And they get the chance to experience, but more as tourists. How about we think about, can we expand the tourism experience to more of a collaborative business to business relationship, right? So showing these positive things to people who may first come as tourists, but showing that actually there's this really exciting process going on here, where they're sort of grounded in the place, grounded in the culture, collaborative, and so much innovation happening. I think it would be amazing to then start to build the bridges also between different parts of the world around learning. And of course, I mean, take it very simply, but we are in the start of a massive transformation, right? The United Nations research groups that works on sustainable transformation is very clear that either we take the leadership of leading for this transformation, or the Earth system and the others would do it for us. So our chance is that to sort of go the way we want in this process, we have to work much more together across the globe, everywhere. We have to work much more across sectors and see new connections and new business models evolve. And we have to find ways to go inner to understand, how can I create value for the ones in the focus areas I want to see happening for my company, but also widely in society. We cannot afford to be closing our eyes to whatever happens. We have to open them and work together. And that fundamental wisdom of what we can say, that the only way that science across different disciplines can unify around on some of these things, that the changes are happening already. I mean, we already see the consequences of what we haven't done for a while. We have to persist doing the right things and focus and accelerate what we're doing. We have to do it in the way where we're creating the world we want to live in continuously. It's not that we want to do it for a second and then go back to something. This is the way we want to. So we're really in the new phase of developing how we will work going ahead. When you do that, you need strong grounds in shared values, so universal wisdom. The way that I would explain that comes from a long experience, many, many hundreds of years ago, and for very many different parts of the globe. There's some wisdom that actually is very shared that we have forgotten, and it's that we are nature. Individuals are part always of relationships to others. We are located in place, and this happens in different places around the planet. So we can make a choice. Either we continue to disconnect from ourselves, from others, from the organizations we're in. We see low motivation scores in many organizations at the moment. From the places, so we can disconnect and not engage in what happens around us, and from the planet. And that's a path we've been trying for a while, not least in my part of the world, but also others. But that disconnect gets us exactly to a situation where we are burning out, well, where actually the earth is burning up. And that's not a good operating system for any economy. We need to shift that. So what is the fundamentals to shift it? Well, go from focus on connection. So we were on disconnection. Now we need reconnection. So the reconnection means I connect to myself, so I understand what I can do and who I am for, and what my purpose is for myself as a leader, for my organization, together as an employee with my organizations, but also for the place and the country and the planet. So if we can build more on reconnecting to ourselves, each other, the organizations we're working for, the ecosystem organizations, the place, the city, the rural place, the planet, the more we're seeing them as integrated, interconnected whole, the more we're able to make the right kinds of decisions to persevere and continuously proactively work towards competitive advantage, not against each other, but beating this challenge, which is really the ESG challenges, right? And we will have a whole better process when we go about it together. But it requires significant commitment, because if we don't commit to it as centrally placed leaders, who will do it? So it's really a question up to you. Are you ready for the challenge? You want to go together with us to do it? We're happy to help and have the best opportunity to find the right way for you, because Thailand is going to shine the rest of the world when you succeed in this. So thank you for this.
Okay. Thank you very much for your advice and your improvisation today. I think we need to be able to more work closely with you to be able to create the inner development transformation journey, not just for the company in Thailand, but with you as the representative of the global linkage. And I think from this year and more than 2 or 3 years from now, we can work hand in hand to create a better world together. Thank you very much, Dr. Fredrik, for sharing with us today. Thank you.
Okay.